Okay, then we've got a very, very special interview now for North Derbyshire Radio, where it's because next month the World Seniors Snooker Championship will start at the Crucible Theatre just a couple of days after the end of the World Snooker Championships itself at the same venue. I'm delighted to say that we're joined now by snooker legend, three-time World Snooker Championships semi-finalist and former world number two, Tony Knowles. Tony, how's it going? You okay?
Hi, Matthew. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah,
it was about 40 years ago that I was playing at the Crucible. We played Dennis Taylor before the famous final with Steve Davis, which he won in 1985, and he beat me in the semi-final. So, 40 years ago this year.
amazing. Do you still, just before we obviously speak about the World Seniors Championships itself, how often do you get to speak to, other legends of the sport, like Dennis Taylor and like Steve Davis, for example?
Well, I see them quite often. I see them quite often now. Obviously, some more than others. I mainly see Jimmy White and Dennis quite often, either on the golf course or mainly in some senior legends events.
Yeah, and of course, Jimmy White is, of course, another player that will be featuring in next month's World Seniors Championship as well. So I'm sure you'll be able to catch up with Jimmy once again there.
Well, Jimmy's still on the main circuit. He just lost out qualifying. Well, he won a couple of matches in his quest to try and get back to the Crucible for the main event. But he's won the seniors event a couple of times, and obviously he'll be looking to win it again this year. But there's a few good players in it this year.
Yeah, there is. I've seen the lineup, and it's a big one. Lots of really, really talented players in there. And just first of all, about the venue, because of course the World Seniors, as well as the World Professional Snooker Championships, is still at the Crucible. It's still going to be there until at least 2027. When you go back to the Crucible, do you still get that buzz when you return to the Home of Snooker? Does it still hold that very special place in your heart there?
That's the thing about the Crucible. It's an amazing venue for snooker. It's not our biggest venue, but what it has got the atmosphere. And because of the actual wall of viewers is so steep, they're virtually right on top of the table. And it gives it this really iconic pressure pot, when the matches get pretty close. And that's what you got in that 1985 final with 18 million viewers watching on television. This really intense final few frames.
Absolutely, yeah. I was there last year at the end of the World Seniors final when Igor Figueiredo beat Ken Doherty, and it was only then that I realised just how intimate the venue is. Like, if you're towards the front two rows, if you're a spectator, you're almost on the snooker table itself. It's a
right.
really venue.
That's right. People don't realise how close they are to the table. And the one thing that World Seniors has done is it gives an opportunity for people who like snooker, who can't get tickets for the main event, for the main World Open, to be able to get a feel of that atmosphere at the seniors when they can't get tickets because they're all balloted out or you have to be lucky to get one to watch the main Worlds.
And how important is it that, tournaments like the World Seniors and of course the World Snooker Champions itself remains at the Crucible? Because I know there's been a lot of talk before that at one point in the future it might move somewhere else, but how important is it that it remains in Sheffield?
I'd say I would like it to stay in Sheffield, but you never know. The tickets are go that quick that they're looking for a bigger venue to hold the Worlds. But where can you replicate the atmosphere that you actually get in the Crucible.
Mm. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
I know Barry Hearn is wanting to try and get the Sheffield Council there to try and build a bigger stadium there, but whether that happens, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah, it could. It's something that I think will keep on going for a few years yet before I think any final decisions will be made. But we'll just come on to the World Senior Championships itself now. So you were there last year, of course, and you'll be up against Australia's Hassan Kurd. Hopefully, I've got that
Hassan
pronunciation.
Kurd, yeah, I've not heard much about him, but he's won a few events out in the Oceania area of qualifying, and there's a couple of good players out in that area. Obviously, we've got Neil Robertson that's come over from Australia. He's been one of our top players and competing this year. He's been. He's been living in this country now, but when he came over from Australia, he's since Eddie Charlton, going
Mm.
back years when I first started, he's been one of the main predominant players from that area.
Yeah, and what do you fancy your chances are at this year's tournament? Do you reckon
Well,
you can go all the way?
well, I'm telling them all to watch out because I've been putting a lot more practice in for this year's event.
Excellent.
And I'm very grateful to Jennings Bet for actually sponsoring this event this year, which without people like the gambling companies, we would actually, it's nice to be able to hold this event with
Absolutely.
otherwise we wouldn't be able to put these events on.
Yeah,
So it's great
absolutely.
that they are actually sponsoring this event this year.
And at this tournament, who else do you think would have a good chance of winning it? Because of course, Igor Figueiredo won it last year.
Well,
Ken Doherty did well too.
we've got 4 or 5 players who are on the circuit this year playing,
Hmm.
and 2 who are actually who are retiring to obviously play senior snooker, which is Joe Perry and Dominic Dale. They are both in the event,
Hmm.
along with Jimmy White, Ken Doherty, Igor Figueiredo, top amateur players who've been on the circuit before, which is Craig Stedman, another player. There's most of the players are all competing at a high level still.
Hmm. Yeah, it's really come on leaps and bounds this tournament, hasn't it? 'Cause when I was researching it in its first few years, I think the best of the final, the best of the amount of frames was only about best of 3 at some points. It was just the first to 2, but this year it's been extended even further, hasn't it? I think the final is now best of 15 frames.
Is it? Well, that'll be good. Which I mean, if you look at last year's final, there was so much high quality snooker there.
Hmm.
Igor Figueiredo, he played some good quality snooker in that final against Ken Doherty.
Yeah, yeah, he did. It was tremendous, and he was a fully deserved champion as well. I've got to ask as well, because of course, when this goes out on air, first of all, the World Snooker Championships itself will begin the day after. So, who do you fancy to win this year's 2025 tournament at the Crucible?
Well, I think this year's event is going to be really open, but some of the class of '92 who are featuring in some of the events this year and winning titles and coming back to playing some quality snooker. You've got John Higgins, Mark Williams, and Ronnie O'Sullivan. Hopefully, he'll be turning up. He has to play his old rival. There's a lot of needling in the matches in previous events, which is. I forgot his name now.
Ali Carter, yeah?
Carter, that's it. Yeah, there's a lot of needling matches previously, but he's drawn Ali Carter, who's probably one of the best qualifiers to come through for
Mm.
this event, and so that'll be a tough match for him. So whether he can hold it together and turn up, and we'll see. But you've got the likes of Mark Selby. This year is playing well. You've got Zhou Guodong from China, who's been playing and been in recent semi-finals. You've got a young amateur who's actually qualified, and we don't know who got banned from the circuit a few years ago. And he's come back and he's won major events as an amateur. And he's come through 5 qualifying rounds already.
Yeah.
And he's one of the top seeds, and that's Xing Tao. I think it's Xing Tao. And I think he could go quite a long way. So you've got quite a big open event there with actual Judd Trump, Mark Selby, John Higgins, Ronnie O'Sullivan, and then the Chinese players, which have all been featuring well this year.
So as you say, it could be a very, very open tournament.
Very open event.
Yeah, I can't pick a winner this time around, certainly this one.
You've got 2 new actual people have qualified who are quite good as well. One from Wales, Daniel Wells, and Zach Surety. Now, he could cause some upset. Zach Surety has been scoring very heavily throughout his matches, and he could... he'll be worth watching.
Yeah, excellent.
So you've got a lot of good young players coming through.
And while I've got you on, Tony, I mean, I've got to ask while I have you here. I mean, you've mentioned before, I mean, it's coming up to like a landmark amount of time since your big breakthrough, because of course you once defeated Steve Davis at his peak, 10-1 in the first round. Am I right in saying it was the 1982 World?
Going back 43 years now.
Yeah. Do you still get asked about that quite a lot when you thrashed, you hammered Steve Davis, didn't you?
Yeah, it's one of my main moments.
I mean, how often do people ask you about it? Because it's still, one of the great first round matches.
Not so much people asking me. A lot of people do remember it, though, because when anybody says anything, well, you beat Steve Davis 10-1. I say, well, that's right, yeah.
What was Steve Davis like? Could he even speak to you after that match? Was he just shell-shocked?
Oh, he does now. He's got over it now. But I don't think he forgot it for a while, though.
I can imagine. And in terms of your professional career, what would you regard as your highlight? Was it, because I know you came awfully close to reaching the final at one point, didn't you? Well,
I reckon I really could have won it in 1983 if things would have gone right. But that was I lost I missed the pink against Cliff Thorburn in the semi-final when I was 15-13 in front. I think that was my best chance. And then obviously I would have played Steve Davis the year after I beat him 10-1. So that would have given me sort of a bit of, confidence to go in the final against him. I reached the semi-finals again in 85 and 86 and got beat with the eventual winners, Dennis Taylor and Joe Johnson. And I was favourite to win both those matches. But I don't think at that time I was playing as well as I was in 83. And I missed out there. And who knows? If I'd have won in 83, I might have won a couple more, so.
Yeah, and while I've got you on as well, our station controller at North Derbyshire Radio actually told me to ask you about your waistcoats because he was always very impressed with how I think extravagant some of the waistcoats were. Are they going to be making a comeback for this year's seniors tournament?
Well, I did have I have been using one that I've actually had for quite a while, but I might actually have just a plain one this year.
Just a plain one. Oh, Naz will be
I
disappointed now.
might just go to a plain one this year, or I might surprise you and come up with something new.
Okay, okay. I'll hold you to that because I'm aiming to be there for quite a lot of the senior championships. So hopefully I'll be there for your first round match against Hassan Kurd, and
Well,
we'll see if you.
I was one of the first to actually wear these fancy waistcoats until John Virgo started coming out wearing them on big break.
So he was trying to steal your thunder, yeah?
Well, he did make a big impression with it, put it that way. I think
Yeah.
actually the big break had more viewers on a Saturday night.
I remember the program. I remember watching it as a kid at the house in Chesterfield where I grew up with my mum and dad. It was an enormous show, weren't it, back in the day? It had huge
Yeah,
amounts of viewers, didn't it?
yeah.
Absolutely massive. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, Tony. It's been fantastic, and hopefully I'll get to speak to you in person as well at the World Seniors, which begins next month. So it's between the 7th and the
I
11th of
believe
May.
you're running a competition, are you, for viewers? Is it viewers to win tickets for the Crucible?
Yeah, that's right. It'll be a competition. We've not gone through the full details as of yet, but we will be doing
Well,
soon. So,
I was speaking to the promoter Jason earlier, and he said that he would gladly put up a couple of tickets for my match against Assam Kurd
yeah.
On the 8th. So
Excellent. Well, we will definitely be doing something in terms of a competition, and that will involve tickets to the event. So we'll be releasing that in due course. So yeah, it's going to be fantastic. I'm looking forward to it, and I'm looking forward to seeing you compete once again at the World Seniors, Tony. So best of luck for the competition, and of course enjoy the World Snooker Championships, which begins this weekend at the Crucible as well. So thanks for your time, Tony.
thank you very much.